All righty. Boy, my eyes are black. That's scary. Oh, it doesn't come. Boy, my eyes are black. That's scary. Oh, it doesn't come. Doesn't look like it's showing up on the feed too much. Okay. I'm going to let this get rolling here for just a second. Hope everyone's having a wonderful time. What a weekend of football we just had between the college football playoff. One game of the college football playoff was amazing. The other one was like, holy crap, I didn't know Indiana could do that. To a good team, like I still think Oregon's a good team. The NFL playoffs were outstanding until last night. We'll see how tonight's game goes. I have it on as we talk, and we'll be here for a little bit. There's a lot to get to on the show. We have a lot to get to. We're going to talk about coaching hires. Mizzou's made a bunch of hires to the staff. A bunch of them I really, really like. I actually really like the staff they put together, if I'm just going to be forthcoming here. Of course, we're going to talk about the transfer portal, the good, the bad, and what they still need coming into the end of the week. And then we're going to talk about kind of – I guess that's kind of it, to be honest with you. To be honest with you. There's plenty to talk about in those stretches. This is Missouri Tigers Live. This is episode 57. Holy cow! I've been doing this for over a year, and I'm still as gassy as I've ever been. Doing this for over a year. It's amazing to me. Over a year's worth of episodes. We've done a season and a half of Missouri Tigers Live, and we hit into the second off season I've been in here. Lot to talk about. Both good and bad for the Missouri Tigers as this offseason comes underway. You can follow me on Twitter at PsychoZ50. You can find all my inane. I don't tweet nearly as much as I used to. Like my friends are like, damn, I barely see you on there anymore. I'm there. I don't have any. I'm too tired and my job's too stressful. And if anyone's hiring, to really talk about anything right now. Or to tweet a bunch. I'm looking, but especially trying to do this and cover Mizzou football. So, but it's where you can find me. I am still a good follow. I will be a good follow, I promise. Anyway, also follow Mark Rogers over at the Voice of College Football, their website, Voice of College Football website. You can find out our shops, our different. Let me keep that up. Our different hosts, who we have. On different teams, what teams we have. Please subscribe to Mark Rogers at the Voice of College Football. I am Zach Aurelius. Of course, I am your host here. So with that being said, also like and subscribe, guys. If you're here, like and subscribe. Of course, it goes without saying. Or if you know any Mizzou fans that on Monday nights want to hear a little bit about their Missouri Tigers, it's always good. So, Sean Gleason. You ever have those moments where, like, you follow a football team, like, insanely? Like, you just – like, I love Missouri. I still am like, that guy was – I was on God – so Sean Gleason left. I thought that was the wasn't there a former Virginia Tech quarterback named Sean Gleason? Or am I thinking of somebody else? I should have done this before, but I guess not. Maybe I'm wrong. I could have sworn. Anyway, we're just going through the coaching tracks. Our long national nightmare is over. Eric Link is gone. He has taken the job at New Mexico, which basically tells me he didn't get fired, but it was like, hey, man, you should probably go find another job. He got cut. Of course, Kirby Moore left. He was the 3-year offensive coordinator. We talked about him. Sean Gleason was the quarterback's coach. He's now at Kansas State serving as offensive coordinator. In a hire I'm not really seeing Kansas State fans be too happy about. Durham Cato was the tight ends coach. He followed Kirby Moore to Washington State. Jack Abercrombie, he followed Moore to Washington State. He'll be the offensive line coach. Andrew Bellomi was a pass game specialist, and he's now at Washington State. For my boys up in Pullman, good luck. Maybe it was a Mizzou thing. I'm rooting for you guys. I have nothing against Washington State. I feel horrible for what they happened. They lost a strength coach, and they've lost the Brad LaRondo, which was a big loss. He was the CEO of every True Tiger Brands. He was an important piece of their NIL efforts. But that's who's gone from the coaching staff. Look, we talked about in the offseason, this was a chance for Missouri to – you don't have to reinvent yourself. Like, you're still in a pretty good spot. You're still a top 30 team, but this is a chance to reevaluate and figure out kind of what you want to be heading into the next 6 years of Eli's tenure. And as far as the staff, they brought in Chip Lindsey. Look, we've gone over Chip Lindsey a lot. I think he's fine. I think he's kind of an amoeba. We'll find out how good or bad he is coming up here soon, to be perfectly honest. In 12 months, we'll be able to figure it out. But he's going to want to run the football, and he ran the ball like crazy at Michigan. Michigan at the passing game just didn't come to works. Was it because of him, or is it because Bryce Underwood just can't see it? Now, a lot of Michigan fans who I trust say it was a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. A lot of it was on Bryce, and they just didn't have talent at wide receiver. Will Mizzou have talent at wide receiver? Hypothetically. We'll have to see it come play, but John Papouchis, he was at Florida State, which somehow had a worse. No, bad kitty. At Florida State had a worse special teams unit than Mizzou did last year, but they did have a strong special teams, and part of that's Norvell special teams track record going back. So he's the new special teams coordinator. Look, you could have hired me. I would have been fine with it. It's just something different. Maybe Mizzou now will try to block a kick. Just a thought. Hey, knock it off. Damn cats. Then they hired what I think is the best hire they made. They brought in Garrett Riley from Clemson. He spent 2019 with Drinkwitz at App State, former Clemson. We'll find out if the issues Clemson had. He is scaling that thing. Good, Ollie. Offensively were on Dabo or on him. But if you remember, the Clemson offense wasn't that great when Tony Elliott left either. He was great at TCU. I think that's he was a guy I was thinking about for offense. Oh, Chip Lindsey didn't even come across my mind. He was a guy I was like, hire him as OC. He's going to coach quarterbacks and I assume really help out in the pass game. That's a really nice hire by Eli. I really, really like this hire. If it crashes and burns, it crashes and burns, man. But this passing game cannot suck again. And I think you have the pieces in place on the sideline to make sure that isn't the case. Really like this hire for Mizzou. They brought in Brandon Bognar. He was an assistant quarterbacks coach. He spent the 2025 season at Florida State. He's coached a lot down south of Florida. He is a St. Louis native. He played at Lindenwood. He's going to be the assistant quarterbacks coach. No real opinion. Another big, really nice hire. Lavorne Harbin, I believe Chop is his nickname. He was a assistant at Tennessee. He coached the outside linebackers, and he was a defensive analyst at Tennessee. He's known as a great recruiter. He helped recruit the trio of 4-star. Everyone's alleging, I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on in Knoxville and who recruits who, but he was in charge of helping the Vols recruit a trio of 4-star defensive players for the 2026 class. So he has recruiting chops. Another really like this again. Mizzou didn't need to reinvent who they are. They just needed to reevaluate who they are. Bring in Alex Atkins. He was been a tight end coach for a long time in the SEC. He's previously coached at LSU and Florida State. He's coached at Charlotte, Tulane. He's going to be the new tight ends coach. He has more of an offensive line background, according to PowerMizzou.com, which is a little bit surprising because Mizzou has their tight end room leans more towards the pass catching side, especially with Norfleet. But we'll see how that goes. Certainly, hey. Their new director of player personnel is John Bresky. He spent the last season at Tennessee. He's essentially Mizzou's GM, but like Eli has said publicly, he's not going to name like a GM or have a GM in charge of him until we've kind of figured out where college football is going. And then Roman Good is the new director of scouting. He comes to Missouri from Georgia Tech, where they did I'd argue, a hell of a job. So that's the new staff. Some of these guys I don't really have an opinion on. I don't have an opinion on your assistant quarterbacks coach, but I love the Garrett Riley hire. I'm intrigued by the Atkins hire, and I'm intrigued by Chop coming in from Knoxville, Mr. Coach Harvin. I consider me excited about what Mizzou has been able to bring in to improve this coaching staff. And you still have Jacob Peeler. You still have oh my gosh, my brain just does not work. You still have Coach Loop. Obviously Eli's still there. Batoon is still there. Like, I think Eli's done a good job putting a staff together as we head into this season. We'll just kind of see what happens as we go along. This is, the recruiting aspect of that you'll see next season. Not too much for this portal class. And speaking of the portal classes here at Missouri Tigers Live, it's been portal madness in Columbia. We've seen a lot of visitors. We've seen a lot of guys come in, come out. We're going to start with a little bit of everything. We're going to start with the bad, though. Defensively, I wouldn't call it a disaster. They've done a nice job in some spots, but they have whiffed all over the place. And the biggest start was when Damon Wilson announced he was entering the portal. Look, we all thought there was a good chance Damon Wilson was going to leave, but we all thought it was going to be the NFL. Now he's in the portal, and it kind of sounds like he's going to be like going to Miami or Ohio State or one of these schools that, can pay him more money than Mizzou can, which is really unfortunate. If you had brought Damon Wilson back, I think there was a real opportunity here to have secure a good defense for next year. Man, if you can't retain guys, you don't develop guys because you don't play them. How do you expect to be good? Like, the 2023 defense at Mizzou was incredible. And last year's defense was great too. But last year's defense had some homegrown guys, had some transfer portal guys. Actually, I take that back. It was a lot of transfers last year. McClellan and Trotter, the two corners, all the safeties except Marvin Burks, who transferred, committed to Wisconsin. Best of luck to Marvin and Madison. Look, I've said it before. I think Eli has done a really nice job in the portal defensively. But this is a lot, man. This is a lot. You whiffed on Jaden Woods. He stayed. You whiffed on the Bama, two Bama transfers. They're going to Ohio State. You certainly can't be mad that they went to Ohio State. You can certainly understand it. But another is they whiffed on Sprague. There's a lot of guys. Like, defensively, Mason Perham is who they've had on campus. So guys you would assume that could commit soon. Mason Perham from Emory and Henry, Elijah Dotson, but he looks like he's coming back to Michigan. Delshawn Staley. He's going to really looks like he's taking his time. Logan George, an Ohio State edge. There's not a lot there. Logan George from Ohio State. Again, is he a player? Was he a guy that? Oh, he committed. When did he commit? Oh, he committed at Sports Illustrated an hour ago. Yeah, that makes sense. He committed to Washington. for UW. Okay, another miss in the portal. Wendell Gregory is someone they like. Wendell Gregory is a guy they have to land. They have to land Wendell Gregory, or else you are really putting a lot of faith in guys that have shown no college football proven experience. He hasn't committed anywhere yet, and he's a good player at Oklahoma State last year, which was a disaster of a team. But he finished with 12 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Hey, that's pretty good. Of course, Samuel Okunala. He played 2 years at Pitt. He played 1 game for Colorado last year. Again, they added Florence from Washington. I don't know. He's also hurt, but he's been productive in 2023 at 5 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss. 2024 Colorado, 3 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss. But he's coming off an injury. I would, of course, take him. He seems like a good player. They whiffed on James Smith and Russaw from Alabama. They visited, but they're going to sign with Ohio State. So, look, it's been a whiff defensively in a lot of spots. I would argue defensively they still need a defensive tackle, maybe 2. I think you can trust Marquise to be a starter at D tackle. Truly, I think Marquise starter, D tackle, lock it in. It's fine. At D end, can Darius Smith be more than a situational pass rusher? Now, he's an elite situational pass rusher. His pressure rate last year was incredible. But now you're Dayton Hopkins and Jaden Jones, who in 171 snaps had 6 pressures and really hasn't shown anything. Now, at D tackle, they did bring in Donta Smith. I take it back. I said they needed 2 D tackles. They need 1. I think they need 1 more defensive tackle. They brought in Donta Simpson from Miami. He played 105 snaps for a Hurricane team, that, of course, playing for freaking Natty next week. He is very talented. I know Miami people. I was kind of reading up on him. There are a lot of Miami people thought he would have played a big role next year on that line. He was a 3-star recruit. He has a couple more years. He has a lot of time, a lot of experience, a lot of he has some depth, needs some high upside. So we'll see what happens there. But man, you need more. You need more. You still probably need 2 corners, and I haven't really heard anything about them latching on to any corners really that are in the portal. Of course, they got Jaleel Florence, former 5-star guy. He's played 19 games, 9 starts at Oregon. He's had some injury issues. Hasn't really played since 2023. We'll see, man. And then they brought in Kensley Luter-Faustin from Auburn. He's played a lot. He's 5'11", 183 pounds. He's played corner and safety. He's played a lot of. He's has some experience. He's played a lot at Auburn. He has some high upside. He seems more like a slot cover guy. And they brought in Jadon Blair from Notre Dame. I think it's safety. Mizzou's set. You have Santana Banner. You have Trajan Greco. You have Jackson Hancock, who I know they really like. You brought back. You were able to retain Charles Bass. You brought in Blair. You brought in Faustin. And you still have Mose Phillips hanging around back there. I mean, obviously you lose Marvin Burks. Fine. I think at safety they're pretty set. I would be shocked if a Staley from San Diego State commits here, and I would be fine with it. At linebacker, they of course brought in Robert Woodyard. He's really good. PFF had him as a first-team All-SEC player. It's him and Rodriguez at linebacker, and Beasley kind of rotating and around them. I think that has a chance to be a really good linebacking core next year. I thought Mizzou. I think Mizzou. I guess I kind of wanted to categorize as good, bad, ugly. I guess I'm going position by position. That's part of the good. Is this kid? This Woodyard kid is legitimately awesome. Elsewhere, defense, and that's really all they've done defensively. We'll kind of see what happens. They need to keep adding to the D line, though. They just need to. Now switching over to offense, I wouldn't be shocked if they're almost done offensively. They've missed on a few guys. We don't need to go into all their misses. I was trying to pull something up. There we go. Okay, so there we go. I had lost my little sheet that I was going off of. So offensively, I think Mizzou is almost done. They brought in Austin Simmons. Of course, he's going to be the quarterback. Power Mizzou, a couple other places, and I even shoot my little circle. I've heard they're also going to are really trying to bring in Nick Evers from UConn, just to establish that QB room of Evers, Simmons, and Zollers, and you can really give Zollers a year off. Nick Evers, look, he's nothing spectacular at UConn. He started a lot in 2024, completed 53% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 5 picks. He played at Oklahoma a little bit. I believe he was at Wisconsin for a little while. He's an elusive runner. Maybe there's something there to use on the goal line, although Simmons is a pretty good athlete too. Just somebody to round out the QB room. If he's playing, Mizzou's probably a little doomed. But I don't think it's like the end of the world if he plays. Or I don't think they're also, I think, going to bring in Bruno from Florida State. He's a kicker. He would be the new punter. That would make sense. Bringing in Florida State's special teams coach, bringing their punter. I'm not going to pretend I know how amazing he is. Let's look up Florida State stats from last year. I should have had this pulled up already, but I think this is a pretty new development. As my cats run around and don't know that I'm doing a show. Little goobers. Florida State. Punting. Oh, he was not the punter. Max Schumitz was the punter. Oh, Florida State's backup punter. Cool. Anyway, that worked so well last year. Anyway, Mizzou, look, and the thing on the defensive line, let me add this while I'm here. Tion Gray and Toby Hapstrup are in the portal, and they were both at one time very strong Mizzou commit. Like, they weren't committed to Mizzou, but they were like, Mizzou was going after them hard. I think Gray at one point was committed to Missouri. Look, he's a true freshman. He's going to be a sophomore next year. He like, if you look at the photo Hayes Fawcett put out, oh my God, his arms. Like, I've been going to the gym for a year and a half. I can bench like 330 now. Like, his arms make me feel pathetic. They really do. He and Tion Gray, they both are entering the portal. Those would be kind of the guys. I think, I know Eli's mantra, and it's basically been not stolen, but like more used by Signetti. Production over potential. I think these are guys that, like, you kind of have a little bit of both. Like, Strupp played in 3 games. He made 1 tackle, but Tion Gray had some moments. He did have 2 tackles for a loss, and he is a huge human being. He's 330 pounds in the middle, and Mizzou needs that. Those are 2 guys to kind of keep an eye on as we head into the next week of recruiting. Now, of course, the portal closes on Friday. And that, but you don't have to commit by next Friday. This is probably going to go on for a little while. But we'll see. What happens coming up next with those guys. Those are kind of probably the next two big names to watch, along with Gregory and the other defensive ends that we've gone over in this. So moving on to, I guess, to the next position. At running back, Mizzou did get a commit from Sean Edwards from Houston Christian. He was a FCS freshman All-American, 1,019 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's a good player. You have to be really excited about the potential there. I mean, he's going to get a lot of the blowout touches. You're not expecting him to really play next year a ton and get meaningful carries, but he'll certainly have a huge opportunity in 2027. And more than that, he's just a good player. And he's young, and he provides you with depth. And look, Mizzou got very unlucky at quarterback. Offensive line, kind of got banged up a little bit throughout the year. But they were very lucky that Roberts and Hardy both stayed healthy. You always need that third running back. They're also looking at getting Seth Davis from Mississippi State. To kind of to get involved in that running back room. I would really like this kid to come to Mizzou. He on 47 carries, he had 5 attempts for 47 carries last year. He's clearly going to be like your fourth running back, more of a special teams guy. His freshman year, he dealt with injuries last year. His freshman year at Mississippi State, he did have 59 carries for 356 yards. Also, apparently, he didn't return kicks at Mississippi State, but apparently that's part of his game. So it would be nice if Mizzou ever learned how to return a kick. But you have those two guys in your running back room. You add in Maxwell Warner. You got 5 guys that are 4, and Warner's a freshman, that you really think that can play football at this level, and we'll see what happens there. Of course, we'll be back next week during the national title game to talk. Next week's show is not going to be terribly long. Tonight's show is not going to be terribly long. I've been having chest pains for like 2 weeks. I know I come on here every week with something, but guys, is anybody hiring? We've gone pretty. I mean, we were 30 minutes in, and I still got a lot to get to. So, okay, at wide receiver, they brought in Caleb Goody. He's a guy I think we all thought they were going to bring in. He's a Marquise Johnson replacement, and I am intrigued. Now, my worry with him is he did have a pretty good quarterback, if you didn't know about Brendan Sorsby, throwing him the ball. But if you just go based off the stats and who he's directly competing with, for who he's directly going to be compared to, it's Marquise Johnson. And if you see Marquise Johnson's numbers from last year, he caught 28 passes for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Caleb Goody last year, now at Missouri, 29 catches, 484 yards, and for 16 yards, 2 touchdowns. A little bit better numbers. Just a little bit better numbers. You have to kind of be excited by that. And it's across the board: yards per catch, yards total, 1 less reception, yards per game, everything like that. He's just a little bit better. He'll be your speed threat for Mizzou. Elsewhere, they brought in Nashawn Montgomery. He has 4 years of eligibility left. He caught 3 passes for 26 yards last year at Florida. He was only a 3-star recruit, but the thing is, what we have to realize is that he was the number 59 wide receiver in his class, 53 recruit in the state of Florida. This is all according to PowerMizzou.com. He signed with Florida. He took visits to Washington, Ole Miss, and Alabama. Kiffin wanted him. DeBoer wanted him. And let's see, was it Washington they said? and Jed Fish wanted him. All three guys I think are pretty good coaches. There's something there with him. There's something there that you have to be excited about. He has potential. He's only 6'1". Oh, he also took a visit to Louisville. He has a lot of potential. You wouldn't be getting Jeff Brom wouldn't be looking at you. James Franklin apparently wanted him. Washington wanted him. Bama wanted him. If you weren't a super talented player, so I don't expect him to be like the biggest of impact this year. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if Mizzou tries to go get one more wide receiver. But I understand the pickup, and I'm intrigued. I don't know if I'm excited, but I don't think excited is the right word. Just because he has not proven anything on the field, but I am intrigued by this one and think that one could pay dividends. And then lastly, at receiver, they bring in Horatio Fields from Auburn, a trio of Auburn transfers. Horatio 6'3", 100. According to College Football Reference, 194 pounds. Not quite the big body Josh Manning was. Josh Manning was, well, hang on. He commits to Kansas State, which I think everybody freaking knew that was happening. What did they have Josh Manning measured at? I've said before, I really like Josh Manning. I thought by the end of last year he'd become somebody that I've really gotten to like as a player. Of course, his profile is not on MUTigers.com. Yeah, he's 6'2", 213. So you're losing about 20 pounds there. But Horatio Fields, productive player. I don't care about what he did at Auburn last year because Auburn's offense was a joke and they couldn't pass. But the previous year at 2024 at Wake Forest, 39 catches, 463 yards, 4 touchdowns. So when you add guys like Goody, you add Montgomery, you add Fields, and I still think they're going to add eventually another guy. You are really, really relying on Olubade to be the dude, the number one receiver, to replace Kevin Coleman. Not to be Olubade again, but to replace Kevin Coleman's production. We'll see, man. Like he's uber talented. You have to kind of think there's a chance he does it. But man, like you're putting a lot of faith in this kid, and we'll see. Like we'll see. I do ultimately think it's a lot, and then it's a lot of what sticks. Could Folks do or Terry, the guys that are returning? What about? No, Daniel Blood went to Washington State. I don't know why his name came across my mind. Good luck to him with Kirby. Goody, Fields. Like it's a new wide receiving room, but man, is it like it's a little, well, not a lot of proven there. Xavier Townsend heading to Purdue. I know he was a guy Mizzou really was looking at. But that's at wide receiver. They didn't get Chase Hendricks. They're not going to get Ja'Cory Thomas. They've really whiffed a lot defensively. And that's not good. Let me pull up Mason Perham. Oh, Mason Perham he went to James Madison. That makes sense. I brought him up earlier. They also whiffed on AJ Harris. There was a lot of momentum for AJ Harris to come to Mizzou, and they whiffed. He's going to Indiana. Can you blame the guy? Wendell Gregory did visit Mizzou. He was on a visit to Kansas State. He's visited Wisconsin and Texas. You can't whiff on this one. You just can't. You can't whiff on him. And getting the 2 Oregon guys would be really quality as well. And then finally, we will get to offensive line. I actually think they've put in some good work here. They brought in Alex Atkins, or Josh, not Alex Atkins, he's the coach. Josh Atkins from Arizona State. He made 39 consecutive starts. He started every game the last 2 years at Arizona State. He was the starter at tackle every game of the Scadaboo era. Look, if you look at some of his advanced stuff, some of his PFF, it's not great. But neither was it on Keegan Trost. I'm willing, after the success that was Keegan Trost last year, I'm willing to give Eli and the staff some grace. Like, oh, you didn't get the big stud. He might be a really good player. He's a big boy, which is good, which I really like. He's a huge human being. Josh Atkins ASU size. It's always good when you got some big guys. He's 6'4", 310. So that'll help. He's certainly big enough to play in the SEC. Elsewhere, they add Will Kemna from Kansas State. He's got 4 years. He's a bit of a project. He's only 6'4", 268. So he's got a long way to go before he's SEC ready. But when you lose literally all your depth, you have to bring in some guys. Who did I miss? They brought in Luke Work from Mississippi State. He's played 20 games, 9 starts. He'll mix in the interior. I think he's more of a depth piece. I don't think he'll be a starter next year. They still got guidance. They still got Reichert. They still have Piegler. Tristan Wilson, I'm pretty sure the staff thinks is going to be the starting center, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with them not going out and getting a center if they really believe in Tristan Wilson. And look, Tristan Wilson had some really positive moments to end the 2024 year. He played really well in the bowl game, according to PFF and all those sites. So if it is going to be him, fine. I have no issue with that. I'm curious to see how it goes, but I still think you need to add another lineman or 2 in the portal. So what Mizzou still needs: 2 defensive ends, a defensive tackle, one bona fide starter. Habstrup is a good player. He's not a starter. Wendell Gregory be your starter, your third DN to go with Dara Smith and Hopkins too. Hopkins is a guy I know this staff was really, really high on. This is where losing Newberry really hurts. Because if he was fully ready this year, man, you're taking a huge risk. Linebacker, I think they're set. I think they're set at safety, and they still need 2 defensive tackles. That's still a lot of work to put in the portal. But the portal's not closed yet. If any big things happen, I'll go live. The good news, if you're a Mizzou fan, is they found who they wanted at receiver, attacked, and got him. I kept talking about Chase Hendricks. They apparently never really were that interested in Chase Hendricks to play slot. He goes to Cal. Can't really blame him. I want to play with JGS too. We'll just kind of see how it goes. I would be shocked if they tried to bring in one more receiver, one more guy with elite, not elite. You're not getting Cam Coleman in the freaking portal, but a guy with some positive ability. They also whiffed on Carson Williams, who went to Indiana. Kobe Hastrup. Gosh, I kept saying Hapstrup. So you can bring in a Jaden, if you can finish with Hastrup, Jaden Jones, Gregory, Dara Smith, Hopkins as your 6, I think you're okay with that. I think you're okay with that, if I'm being perfectly honest. Jordan McAllister, he was an edge that visited here from New Hampshire. He went to Tulane. Like, you whiff and you whiff. It's okay. Just kind of scrolling through a bunch of Mekhi Miller to Missouri State. That's fun. Like, Kelby Collins is another name. Apparently, Mizzou is interested in. I didn't see about anything with him committing. He did commit to South Carolina 2 days ago. Some of these like random guys that you see, they're like, "Oh, Mizzou's interested." I just miss their, because I have like so like the CBS guys like Zimmer and all, like I have their alerts on, and then there's just some of these guys I just miss. Kevin Wynn from Florida State would be another name I'd look out for. Like if Mizzou's really serious about getting a starter. He would be a big get. There's still nothing really on the Desir twins, as far as I know. The Desir twins would be other names like look, Wendell Gregory's one thing. But like those two kids would be amazing. Wendell Gregory, you can't miss. Like if he goes to Texas, I guess I get it. Texas is firing the money cannon everywhere. Sark's had a hell of a week getting Cam Coleman and Hollywood Smothers. They also kept the other back that they paid for, so that's crazy by them. Good for them. But we'll see kind of what Mizzou does there. There are names out there, and more will be added. I guess that's what I'm trying. Like it's not time to panic. But it's not been a great, like they've missed on some big targets. You know, Andrew Sprague went back to Michigan. Fine. Bo Pribula just committed to Virginia, according to Matt Zenitz. All right, good for Bo. I know like Tennessee really was intrigued by him. Tennessee, I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback, but anyway, we will be live next week. I think I've covered everything I've wanted to yet so far. You can follow me on Twitter at PsychoZ50. Like and subscribe, guys. And we'll be here next week during the national title game. You know, we'll kind of watch along maybe for like a half quarter, kind of depending on when the game really gets rolling. And talk about the second week of the portal for Mizzou and kind of what the new updates and how the third week may go. And as we advance to really the off season, like once the end of January hits, like we're full on into the off season, it's time to stir up some fun content, you know, look at different position groups, start looking at around the SEC, you know, kind of what they're doing in the portal. LSU gets a big transfer quarterback today in Sam Leavitt. Kentucky's been putting work in the portal, which is, you know, Will Stein was always going to. Kenny Minchie. I haven't heard a lot about Kansas doing anything in the portal, but you know, Florida, John Summerall has been putting in work. Texas A&M is going to have a great roster. We'll talk about Ole Miss, you know, kind of what they're looking at. Deuce Knight, I really like that pickup for them. Texas obviously has been throwing the money cannon at everybody. Cam Coleman's going to play Mizzou for a third year in a row. Arkansas really hasn't done anything outside of signing a bunch of Memphis guys. Georgia's going to be Georgia, Kentucky, and then Oklahoma's, you know, been really quiet, but that was a really young Oklahoma team, and they bring back a lot offensively. So we have a couple weeks left before, you know, we kind of hit the off season and we go into the skid. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Zach Ramirez here with Missouri Tigers Live. Thank you for being here. MIZ, and I will see you next week. Indiana 27, Miami 23. All righty. Have a good night.